Hey, what's up? It's Table Talk. I'm comedian Rudy Rush here with the home team, former Cowboy linebacker, my man Brady James, and current legend, Cowboy great, Brady James. Also current receiver Bryce Butler is in the house. My man Butler with the French toast. They make it special for him. And also Catherine Miles, who we love as Smacker, but you know her best as Les Miles' daughter, but she's gonna be a future reporter, so she's in with us. And we're just here to talk about some topics happening in the world, in the game of football and all that stuff. And we're gonna get right into it about this whole Vegas situation. Man. Now, one thing I wanted to say, everybody knows all the details. For the last few days, we've been watching the news and seeing all the reaction, but you guys especially, all being athletes, all being exposed to the public, always being, you know, like vulnerable with your families at the games and everything. How do you all feel about this whole situation?
Well, I mean, for me, it just makes me very cautious and mindful and aware of where we are. You know, public places, as an athlete, we're not used to being around all people. We're kind of used to being in our box and used to being around people that we know. And once you leave that safe haven, now you got to worry about somebody that may have fallen off their rocker for one day and just start shooting. And so nobody anticipated this. It was definitely a travesty, and hearts and prayers goes out to those families that were affected.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. When you leave the football locker room or wherever you're at with your team, you don't know who's who. You don't know anybody's intent. And so you always kind of like gotta look at people with the side eye. Yeah. I mean, you don't try to be rude to people, but you know, people run up on you and you like, oh, yeah. Like, who are you? Like, you know what I'm saying? And they can, you know, they can just be a fan trying to holler at you, and then they can be a fan.
Your mama, you be like, Mom, oh,
yeah, my bad, Mom. You know what I'm saying?
You just stay there with Uncle Louie.
Exactly. So I mean,
yeah. Uncle Louie.
Yeah. I mean,
because you know you guys have even more so than the pros, even your college experience, like with people coming and like running on the field, that whole like euphoric thing that happens after a big win.
Yeah.
It's a very dangerous situation,
yeah.
And so like this is something where you know people, your guard is totally down. You're having fun, and then the next thing you know, like shots are ringing out, and now not only are you fighting for your life, but you're scrambling to find out who's with you and making sure everyone's all right. It's got to be a terrifying experience, even with your dad coaching. I'm sure you've been on the field plenty of times, and you're exposed to this. How did you feel?
It's hard to wake up, and I'm on my way to work out, and the first thing I hear on the radio is that there's been a shooting and people have been killed. And it's interesting, you know, after a loss, like my immediate reaction is like, oh, I'm hurting for Coach Garrett because I want the Cowboys to win, and I'm thinking about him, and I'm knowing how his Monday is going to be. And it just puts things into perspective that there are much bigger issues in the world than football, and it's time to acknowledge that and try to make progress for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. You know, when we are all together, that's when we all are safe. When you leave those comforts of the home, you don't know what to expect. And so it's always good to kind of reflect and really enjoy one another because you never know. I know those people were out there and they thought it was fireworks. Being from the South, you know, we're kind of used to that, but trying to hear that in Vegas, I know that was just tough.
Yeah, that was definitely tough. And another thing is also it changes your, you know, the way you prepare for the next game, because now you don't know if it's some kind of thing going on where you have to watch your back. Now you're on the field, you're kind of looking around and you're not comfortable. Has that ever happened that like there been a tragedy like that and then the next game you're not sure whether you can just focus?
No, because that's what they pay people for. You know, hopefully Homeland Security in our stadium is going to be locked in. People shouldn't be in there that shouldn't be in there. You know, that's not my job. You know, I don't handle that. I don't check people's bags when they come in, you know. So I believe and I trust that people that, you know, we have working at the stadium and for the team and all that stuff is going to have that all figured out. So we can go in and just play a football game and everybody that's in the stands watching can enjoy a peaceful an actual game.
Well, you know, for us, in 2011, I think that's when it was. It was the Giants' first game at their new facility, and we were at the stadium, and we were all out there playing, and then the lights went off. And while we were out there playing, and Alan Ball, who was our safety cornerback, I didn't know what was going on. All I know is he hit the deck. I hit the deck right after. Because we didn't know. Just think about being in the stadium full of people. The lights go, all the lights went out. We was like, what is going on? And we were in New York.
Exactly.
You could tell who was from the hood that night. They was like, "Oh, mama ain't paid the bill." Like, we used to that. Yeah. But Smack, let me ask you. I'll start with you. Like, do you think now that this country is ready for somewhat of a police state, like every place being like AT&T Stadium, where now it's metal detectors, now it's extra surveillance, now there's extra homeland security? Because you hear Bryce tell it, he's quite comfortable at work because they create that environment. Do we as Americans and people just walking normal life, are we entitled to that now, or is that where we're going, where we're headed?
I think Bryce and I have different game day thoughts. And so I'm going to have to say that I do get scared about that. I think that when all the terrorism stuff started happening, and I think that we are doing a good job trying to prevent it, but with terrorism stuff, my first thought is, what's more American than football? And so I'm almost surprised that there hasn't been a stadium target. So I think that these precautions are definitely very necessary, and I do have a lot of faith in Mr. Jones and the Dallas Cowboys and making sure the AT&T Stadium is a very safe place.
Yeah. Now, Brady, you got 2 kids, which I love both of them.
Yeah.
I feel like they're uncle too. So now, is there a game plan in place now that you have? Like, do you keep your family closer? Because there was a time where you'd be like, "Oh yeah, my son's over there talking to Dion," or my daughter's over here with whoever. Like, now, do you keep your family closer? Because in these situations, in a split second, it could change.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point of us being safe, and they are creating terror. For me, I just gotta let my crew do their thing. Be safe. Go out and be you. I don't want to constrain them because they kids and they won't understand. Now something pop off, Daddy got to get ready to pull my pants up and get rolling.
Turn it to the equalizer.
Yeah, I gotta do it. I always got good eyes on them, but outside of that, man, I don't live in fear. We just still got to enjoy each day and each other.
Yeah. So that's always a good thing moving forward. This country is really good with that. People here are really good with moving forward. Like, we give the amount of time to tragedy, and we always are aware moving forward, but we definitely get back to normalcy. And speaking of that, let's talk about this game, Bryce. The Rams.
Yeah.
And we talked about it last week in a little bit. And you guys, you knew it was a tough game.
Yeah.
You said that going in. But now the game is over. You had a great game, by the way. But let's talk about that and your thoughts about how everything just transpired.
Yeah, man. Last week we was in here and I mentioned it. They have a high-power offense, and they got some guys on defense that can get after the quarterback pretty good. And earlier in the game, we pretty much did what we wanted to do, especially offensively. We were moving down the field. We were scoring points. We were scoring touchdowns, not kicking field goals. We were scoring actual touchdowns. And then offensively in the second half, we kind of got a little stagnant. I don't think they did anything different to us. I just really feel like we just didn't execute, Sometimes, people want to point like, what they do differently or, what they take away from you in the second half. And they didn't do anything different. We didn't do anything different. We just didn't execute. The first half, we were completing our passes. We were getting, those holes and running the ball. Zeke was breaking tackles. Dez was, making big catches. Terrence was making big catches. Second half, that wasn't there. We just weren't making those plays. And when stuff like that kind of happens, and like you're 3 and out, and you're 3 and out, you're 3 and out, and then you're watching the other team just drive down the field. Like I said earlier, everybody thinks they did something different, but really, like, the players kind of start feeling like, come on, like what's going on? Like, so then there's like some type of added pressure that you bring in on yourself. Yeah. And it might not even be like me talking to Brady about it. It might just be me, like, sitting in my chair, like, come on, dog, like, we out there, like, come on. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then you go out there and do the blow an assignment or something because you're trying too hard and you're not just playing the game naturally. And then, you never focus on it, but you hear it. People booing. You at 3 and out. You hear people booing, and then people are yelling on, from this. And it's funny because we'd be like, "Shut up!" You know what I'm saying? Like you were just all on us, the first half.
You know
now
what?
Y'all talking
it's
like
funny you say that because now we're gonna have the Big Brother report. I'm gonna turn it over to Brady because as a former player and a Cowboy, it's no one closer to the experience than yourself. So what do you think were some of the things that could have been done to prevent this? Because I do agree with Bryce. Like in the beginning, they were just steamrolling. was like, like you guys were a well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
and then it kind of fell apart. What is your take?
I just think that they didn't finish the game.
Yeah.
You got to play for 60 minutes. We go back to all these additives and cliches, but you have to play for 4 quarters. And what started happening is in the NFL, the pendulum swings. Yeah. So you could be rolling on in one quarter and one half, and the next half and the next quarter, the pendulum is on the other side. So you just try to just make sure that you weather the storm. And you guys kind of got a little complacent, and it was interesting to see. But I know this week that's what the key words would be going into Green Bay. You have to finish and start fast and finish hard. So I'm sure that's what you guys are here about.
All right, so we're going to go to our on-field reporter, Smacker, over here. So now you're there, you're watching the games, and, you and Brady, let's talk about this real quick before we get into your thoughts about the game. Now, you guys have an LSU connection, right?
Yes.
And what is that connection?
I'm from Baton Rouge.
And this dude loves
And
Baton
our guy,
Rouge, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, I get a call in the middle of the night, hey, Rue, we about to do it up big in Baton Rouge. You coming? I'm like, okay, let me cancel some stuff.
There's lots of fun to be had there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Her dad is the all-time winningest coach in LSU history. He's brought a lot to the program, winning national championships, playing in national championship games. So he was a big mainstay for us. We always supported him, and that's our connection. And now here I am. I remember seeing her when she was about 12, 13, and now she is, I don't want to say her age, but she's a grown woman now. And so it's good to be here.
I'm glad I didn't see her at 12 because it's messing up my mind. Like she was 12 before? Now, my question to you is, I know everybody asks, do you eat grass like your pop?
I don't.
Yeah.
No.
Do you think now? What is that? Does he ever get sick from that? Because he'll never admit it because he's a tough guy. But does he ever eat that grass and like, okay, that wasn't a good patch? There's something in that patch of grass.
We gave him just as much of a hard time about it as the media. So we had a lot of questions for him, and they were never fully answered as they weren't to the media. So we just laugh and roll with it. That's not the only funny thing he's done around the house at all.
Yeah, I always think of him as like a pro wrestler, just just turning up the turnbuckle just for show. You know what I mean? But let's go back to the game and your thoughts about, because you're watching the game, you're invested too, like you said. So what do you think the Cowboys' ups and downs, like what they could have done to avoid this?
I mean, we just heard from our football guys, and they know as much, or they know more than anyone that's going to touch on it. They know more than all the fans, they know more than the reporters, and they know more than me. But my take on it is, it was a great first half. They went into the locker room pumped. It was a slow second half. And we talk about it as a game because it is a game. It is a football game. They said momentum changes. That's what happened. I personally think that the Cowboys have all the pieces to win a Super Bowl. So I think people need to relax. I think Dak needs to stop taking questions about accuracy, and I appreciate that so much. I think he's an incredible leader. But I just think that not pointing fingers is the key right now, and having faith. And I believe in Coach Garrett, and I believe in the players, and I believe in this place. This is such an unbelievable place.
And that's we're going to close out in a minute, but I just want to get to that. She really touched on something like moving forward. Like, how do you move forward from something like that? And it wasn't a crumbling defeat, because you guys offensively, that's one thing about an NFL team and from a fan's perspective. If you got offense, defense can come around, everything can kind of get together. So after a loss like this, how do you prepare yourself for the next game in the up and coming weeks?
You just reset. I mean, like she was saying, it's early. Like, we talked about that in the locker room after the game. Like, once everybody kind of spread it out, we were like, man, it's early in the season. A lot of people might be panicking just because they expected us to go on an 11-game winning streak again. And it doesn't mean we can't, just go on a streak of wins, but it's early. We got some new players on the team, offensively and defensively, and we're trying to, just patch everything up so we can, when the season really starts rolling, we can start hitting strides where we're supposed to be and get ready for the playoff run.
And we want everybody to know you scored another touchdown this week. So,
we
I'm going to shout you.
We got one. You're on the street.
For me, just on the outside, it's all about stacking wins up, back to back to back, because you don't want to get in a situation where it's where you 2-2 again and you 4-4. That means everybody is tight. Like you're saying, when you're in a game where it's real close, everybody kind of start getting into their tight zone when you want them to be free, when you want to go out there and play.
Like, we gonna win this game.
And I've been a part of the 8-8 teams, and that sucks. I'd rather it be a bad season or a really good season. That 8-8 is like 1 week you're up, 1 week you're down, and then in Texas, the sky's falling when you lose. So, God, let me tell you something. Like Bill Bates and all the guys used to tell me, when y'all do well, we do well.
Yeah.
So go out there and make us proud.
All right, y'all, listen, man. For Brady James, Bryce Butler, Captain Moss, a.k.a. Smacker, it's your man, Rudy Rush, and this was Table Talk, man. Hope y'all enjoyed it. See y'all next week.